The illusion of happiness. Why do we have everything, yet still feel empty? Take a moment and think about that. You wake up, check your phone, scroll through endless updates, people traveling, smiling, celebrating. You see success everywhere. More money, better bodies, perfect relationships, a life that looks complete. And yet, something feels off. You might have goals, achievements, even moments of joy, but deep down, there's a quiet restlessness, a feeling that something is missing, that no matter how much you gain, it's never quite enough. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Maybe the problem isn't your life. Maybe it's how you've been taught to look at it. Over 2,500 years ago, a man named Gautama Buddha walked away from wealth, comfort, and luxury, not because he lacked anything, but because he saw something most people still don't see today. He realized that what we call happiness is often an illusion. And in this video, we're going to explore what Buddhism really teaches about happiness, not as a belief system, but as a practical guide to living a more peaceful, meaningful life. So if you've ever felt stuck, anxious, or unsatisfied despite doing everything right, this message might change how you see everything. And if you're searching for real inner peace, consider subscribing to Buddha Flash, because this channel is all about helping you understand life on a deeper level. The modern trap, chasing what never lasts. We live in a world that constantly tells us you'll be happy when you make more money, when you find the right partner, when you finally achieve your dream. So we chase, we push harder, work longer, compare more, and sometimes we actually get what we want. But what happens next? The excitement fades. The new phone becomes just a phone. The dream job becomes stressful. The perfect relationship reveals its imperfections. And suddenly, the happiness we were promised disappears. So we set a new goal, and the cycle repeats. This is what psychologists call the hedonic treadmill, the idea that no matter how much we achieve, we quickly return to the same baseline level of happiness. But Buddhism understood this long before modern science gave it a name. It teaches that the problem isn't that we don't have enough, it's that we're looking for happiness in things that can never truly satisfy us. The first truth: life contains suffering. At first, this sounds negative, even depressing, but it's not meant to make you feel hopeless. It's meant to wake you up. Because suffering here doesn't just mean pain or tragedy. It includes something much more subtle, something you've probably felt many times without realizing it. A quiet dissatisfaction, a sense that things are never quite right. Even in good moments, there's a hint of anxiety because you know it won't last. This is what Buddhism points to. Not to say life is miserable, but to say, as long as we depend on unstable things for happiness, we will always feel unstable inside. Why we suffer? The hidden cause. So if suffering exists, what causes it? According to Buddhism, the root is surprisingly simple: craving, attachment, clinging. We want things to be a certain way. We want success to last forever. We want people to never change. We want life to go exactly as we planned. And when it doesn't, we feel disappointed, frustrated, anxious. Think about it. Have you ever felt stressed because something might go wrong? Felt hurt because someone didn't meet your expectations? Felt empty even after achieving something you worked so hard for? That's not because life is broken. It's because the mind is constantly reaching for something outside itself to feel complete. And that's a battle we can never truly win. Because everything we chase changes, fades, ends. The illusion of control.
Another reason we struggle is the illusion that we can control everything. We plan our lives carefully. We try to control outcomes, people, and situations. But reality doesn't always cooperate. Unexpected things happen. People leave. Plans fail. Circumstances shift. And when reality doesn't match our expectations, we suffer. Not because of what happened, but because of the gap between what we wanted and what is. Buddhism teaches that much of our pain comes from resisting reality, from saying, "This shouldn't be happening," instead of asking, "Can I accept this moment as it is?" The deeper problem: misunderstanding happiness.
At the core of all this is a simple misunderstanding. We've been taught that happiness is something to chase, something to achieve, something that comes from the outside world. But Buddhism offers a radically different perspective. Happiness is not something you find, it's something you uncover. It's not hidden in success, possessions, or perfect circumstances. It's hidden beneath the noise of the mind, beneath the endless wanting, beneath the constant need for more. And as long as we keep looking outward, we miss what's already within us. A shift in perspective. So what happens when you stop chasing? When you stop believing that the next thing will finally make you happy? At first, it might feel uncomfortable because the mind is used to running, used to seeking, used to thinking that peace is always somewhere else. But slowly, something begins to change. You start noticing the present moment. You start feeling less controlled by your thoughts. You start experiencing moments of calm, not because everything is perfect, but because you're no longer fighting reality. And that's where real happiness begins. Transition to part 2. So if chasing happiness keeps us trapped, and attachment keeps us suffering, then what is the alternative? How do we actually live in a way that brings peace, not just temporarily, but deeply and consistently? In the next part, we'll explore the Buddhist path to happiness, a path that doesn't depend on external success.
The Buddhist path to happiness. So if chasing happiness only leaves us exhausted, and clinging to things only leads to suffering, then what is the alternative? What does Buddhism actually suggest we do? The answer is both simple and deeply transformative. Instead of trying to control the outside world, Buddhism teaches you to understand and transform the inside one. Not by escaping life, not by giving up your goals, but by changing your relationship with everything you experience. Letting go, the freedom we resist. One of the most powerful and misunderstood teachings in Buddhism is this: let go. At first, this can sound like loss, like giving up what matters. But in reality, letting go isn't about losing anything. It's about releasing the grip that causes suffering. Think of it this way. Imagine holding a glass of water. At first, it feels light, but if you keep holding it for hours, your hand begins to ache. The pain isn't from the glass itself, it's from holding on too tightly for too long. This is how attachment works. We hold on to expectations, we hold on to outcomes, we hold on to people, identities, and ideas of how life should be. And over time, that holding becomes suffering. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring, it means you stop clinging. You can still love, still strive, still live fully, but without tying your inner peace to things you cannot control. Mindfulness, returning to the present. If letting go is the foundation, then mindfulness is the practice that makes it possible. Mindfulness means being fully present, not lost in regrets about the past, not anxious about the future, but aware, right here, right now. This might sound simple, but in reality, most people spend very little time truly present. Your body might be here, but your mind is somewhere else. replaying conversations, imagining outcomes, worrying about things that haven't even happened. And in doing so, you miss the only moment where life actually exists, the present. Buddhism teaches that peace is not found in some distant future. It's found in your ability to be fully aware of this moment, without judgment, without resistance, just observing, breathing, being. Something as simple as noticing your breath, feeling the air enter and leave your body, can bring you back from chaos to calm, again and again. Impermanence, the truth that sets you free. One of the central insights in Buddhism is this: everything is impermanent. Everything changes. Your thoughts, your emotions, your relationships, your circumstances. Even the things you wish would last forever, and the things you wish would disappear immediately, are both temporary. At first, this might feel unsettling, but it's actually one of the most liberating truths you can understand, because suffering often comes from trying to make things permanent in a world that is constantly changing. We want happiness to stay. We want pain to go away, but life doesn't work like that. When you truly accept impermanence, something shifts. You stop resisting change. You stop panicking when things fall apart. You stop clinging so tightly to what cannot last, and instead, you begin to flow with life. You appreciate moments more deeply because you understand they won't last forever. And you endure difficult times more peacefully because you know they won't either. Detachment is not indifference. One of the biggest misunderstandings about Buddhism is the idea that you have to become emotionless to be at peace, that you must detach from everything and stop caring. But that's not true. Buddhist detachment is not coldness, it's clarity. It means you can love someone deeply without being controlled by the fear of losing them. It means you can pursue your goals without your self-worth depending on the outcome. It means you can experience joy without desperately trying to hold on to it. In fact, when you're not clinging, you actually experience life more fully, because fear no longer distorts your perception. You're no longer asking, "What if this ends?" You're simply present with what is, and that presence creates a deeper, more stable kind of happiness. Pleasure versus peace. In modern culture, happiness is often confused with pleasure. Pleasure is excitement, entertainment, temporary highs. And there's nothing wrong with pleasure, but it doesn't last. And more importantly, it often comes with a hidden cost. The more you rely on pleasure to feel good, the more you need it. And the more you need it, the less satisfied you become. This is why people can have everything and still feel empty. Because pleasure is external. It depends on conditions. Peace, on the other hand, is internal. It doesn't require life to be perfect. It doesn't disappear when things go wrong. It comes from a mind that is no longer constantly chasing or resisting. A mind that is steady, aware, free. Buddhism doesn't ask you to reject pleasure. It simply shows you that lasting happiness comes from peace, not stimulation. The quiet power of awareness. At the heart of all these teachings is one simple idea: awareness changes everything. When you're unaware, you react automatically. You chase what feels good. You avoid what feels uncomfortable. You get caught in cycles without even realizing it. But when you become aware, you start to see your thoughts instead of being controlled by them. You notice your desires instead of blindly following them. You observe your emotions without being overwhelmed by them. And in that space of awareness, you gain freedom. Freedom to choose how you respond. Freedom to step out of patterns that once controlled you. Freedom to experience life more clearly. Transition to part 3. So now we understand the path. Let go of attachment, be present, accept impermanence, cultivate inner peace. But a question still remains. How do we actually live this way in the real world, in a world filled with stress, responsibilities, distractions, and constant pressure? In the final part, we'll break it down into practical steps, simple ways to apply these teachings in your daily life so that happiness is no longer something you chase, but something you begin to live.
How to apply Buddhist happiness in daily life. Understanding these ideas is one thing. Living them is something else entirely. Because it's easy to feel calm while listening to a video like this. It's much harder when you're stressed, overwhelmed, or dealing with real-life problems. So the real question is, how do you actually apply Buddhist teachings in your everyday life? Not in a monastery, not in isolation, but in the middle of a busy, modern world. The answer isn't about doing something extreme. It's about doing something small, consistently. Start small. Change begins in simple moments. One of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking they need to transform their entire life overnight. But real change doesn't work that way. In Buddhism, transformation begins with awareness of the smallest moments. You don't need hours of meditation. You don't need to escape your responsibilities. You just need to begin noticing. Noticing your breath as you wake up. Noticing your thoughts as they arise. Noticing how you react to situations. Even something as simple as taking one slow, conscious breath can interrupt a chain of stress that would normally take over your entire day. These small moments matter because your life is made of moments. And when you change how you experience a moment, you begin to change your experience of life itself. Train the mind, your greatest tool or your greatest enemy. Buddhism teaches that the mind is the source of both suffering and happiness. If you don't train it, it will run on autopilot, jumping from one thought to another, creating worries, replaying the past, imagining worst-case scenarios. This is what many people call overthinking, and it's one of the biggest sources of unhappiness today. But here's the key insight. You are not your thoughts. You are the one observing them. When you start to see this clearly, something powerful happens. You create space between you and your mind. Instead of being pulled into every thought, you begin to watch them come and go, like clouds passing through the sky. Some are dark, some are light, but none of them stay forever. And when you stop identifying with every thought, you stop suffering from every thought. Pause before you react. In daily life, most suffering doesn't come from events themselves, but from how we react to them. Someone says something you don't like, you react with anger. Something goes wrong, you react with frustration. Plans change, you react with stress. But what if there was a space between what happens and how you respond? Buddhism teaches you to find that space, and in that space, you have a choice. Instead of reacting immediately, you can pause, take a breath, observe what you're feeling, and then respond consciously. This single shift can change everything, because when you stop reacting automatically, you stop feeding the patterns that create suffering. Gratitude and compassion, the path beyond the self. Another powerful way to experience deeper happiness is to shift your focus from yourself to others. Modern life often encourages constant self-focus. What do I want? What do I need? How do I feel? But Buddhism offers a different direction. Look beyond yourself. Practice gratitude, not for big, rare moments, but for simple things you usually overlook. Your breath,
a quiet morning, a kind gesture. Gratitude shifts your mind from lack to appreciation, and with that shift, a sense of quiet contentment begins to grow. At the same time, cultivate compassion, not just for people you like, but for everyone. Because every person you meet is dealing with struggles you cannot see. When you act with kindness, you not only reduce suffering in others, you also create a deeper sense of meaning within yourself. And meaning is one of the most powerful forms of happiness. Accept life as it is. One of the most transformative practices in Buddhism is acceptance, not passive resignation, but clear recognition of reality. Life doesn't always go the way you want. Things will go wrong, people will disappoint you, unexpected challenges will arise. And when they do, the mind often asks, "Why is this happening to me?" But this question leads to resistance, and resistance leads to suffering. Instead, Buddhism invites a different question. What can I learn from this? This shift may seem small, but it changes your entire experience. Instead of fighting reality, you begin to work with it. Instead of feeling like a victim, you become a student of life. And through that mindset, even difficult experiences can become sources of growth and understanding. Redefining happiness. At this point, something becomes clear. Happiness, in the Buddhist sense, is not about always feeling good. It's not about constant pleasure. It's not about avoiding pain. It's about inner stability, a calm, steady mind that is not easily shaken by the ups and downs of life. You can still feel joy. You can still feel sadness. But beneath it all, there is a deeper sense of peace, a quiet understanding that everything is changing, and that's okay. This is what real happiness looks like. Not excitement that comes and goes, but peace that stays. The final realization. After everything we've explored, one truth stands out. Happiness is not something you chase, it's something you awaken. It's already within you, but it's often hidden by constant thinking, by endless wanting, by resistance to what is. And as you begin to let go, to be present, to understand your mind, that happiness slowly reveals itself, not as a dramatic moment, but as a quiet, steady presence in your life. Final message. You don't need to become someone else to be happy. You don't need to achieve more. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment. You just need to see clearly. And when you do, you realize that peace was never outside of you. It was always there, waiting to be discovered. If this message resonated with you and you want to explore more teachings like this, make sure to subscribe to Buddha Flash, because true understanding doesn't happen all at once. It grows over time. And this channel is here to guide you on that journey. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What do you think truly brings lasting happiness in your life? Share your thoughts in the comments below.